Hello guys, TKG is here for your comfortable LostArk life. In this video, I'd like to cover one of his classes, Glaivier, as the video in my channel has some old introduction and editings, so I thought it'd be great to remake it and reshare the recent build for your LostArk journey. And of course add some more categories and explanation for more clear build too. Now follow me, I'll show you what you need. Before going into the main part, one thing you need to know is that this video is made on and based on KL server. So that means some of the preference and the build can be a little bit different with the global. In other words, some of the build can be a little bit, can be not familiar than the common build of the Pinnacle Glaivier on the global right now. And as I mentioned in the beginning, some of the composition, build, skill combos can be not familiar with the global server right now, as the KL server is quite ahead on update progressions than the global, so it might be a little bit different too. Also, the LostArk always try to fix the balance between the class by classes, so in the future, some of the build and composition can be a little bit different too. So watch this video with those considerations and use this video as your reference to your LostArk journey. Let's start with the most basic of this video. Class engraving I'm going to cover in this video is Pinnacle. As you guys might already and roughly know about the Pinnacle class engraving, Pinnacle class engraving is another multi-stance class engraving. And as you expect, Pinnacle Glaivier is another back attack type classes. So if you really do hate about catching and chasing the back all the time, this class engraving is not for you. One specific thing of the Pinnacle Glaivier is buff that comes with the switching stance. This buff will grant you lots of usable buff for your combat. Glaivier. Especially, Pinnacle Glaivier got nerfed after the balance patches in August 2023, but personally I think Glaivier is still a decent DPS class compared to the other classes. As the Glaivier got almost remake and revamp on the May 2023 balance patches, Glaivier got changed on playstyle and some builds. But as the time passes, now the Pinnacle Glaivier got formalized on her stat and engraving build. But unlike with those formal builds, some of the effective builds are existing on the Glaivier too, with swift accessories mixture or more. But what I want to say is that I can't show all of the variation of the Glaivier build. So I will show you the most common and representative build on KL right now. My first recommendation is full specialization with critical. I gotta be honest, critical and specialization build is not the build that can reach the ceiling, but it has a great and high damage efficiency on one damaging and skill cycle. Personally, I think LostArk these days class tier evaluation or rating of the LostArk are quite depending on the damaging structure of the classes. In other words, Pinnacle class engravings are quite capable of rushing the DPS in short period of time. And I think this rating of the class might be the same on Ivory Tower or Archon or even in the Thermite. So in short, for the actual efficiency of the gameplay, critical and specialization build is quite recommended to use for the players who want to take a first step on the Glaivier. And as I said, it has an alternative build for the Pinnacle too, by switching the critical accessories to swiftness. Actually, this swiftness build is the ceiling build, but I gotta be honest, it has some picky requirements, like level 2 adrenals, which means you need 97 stones for the full efficiency with a different skill build from this video. Also for the guys who just want to mix the swift accessories because of the slow and heavy controls, you could just simply replace the specialization accessories to swift accessories. But of course, it has some requirements. For the better efficiency, you must not over the swiftness stat than the 563. Whatever you do, you must make it with 100 to 563 if you want to see the decent build efficiency. Plus, you must not have more than 600 critical stat. Pretty picky, right? Well, I'll explain this build later on the next video. Common build of the Pinnacle Glaivier is class engraving, Grudge, Curstole, Raid Captain, Ambush Master, and the Adrenals on the plus engravings. Or if you don't like the penalty of the Curstole, you could just replace the Curstole to Adrenal too, and then add the Ether Predator for the full efficiency. And if you have a 97 stone on your Pinnacles, using level 2 adrenals will show your ceiling performance. Kimble weapons, all-out attacks, mass increase are not okay to use it because of lack of efficiency. Also, using the mass increase might look great, but there is no way to cover the 10% attack speed penalty. So considering these 3 engraving is only for the cost. Unlike the other classes that switching the stance are quite not that capable on the huge damage, Glaivier, especially Pinnacle Glaivier, has a powerful damaging cycles. Personally, I think it is right now positioning on the high tier right now. And of course, it has decent synergy, decent HP with great mobility, and the stagger with destructions. So in other words, it is greatly fitting well with the current LostArk tendency. And I think the most of the multi-stance character's problem is that it needs to be busy. Plus, it is a back attack entropy class. That means not only you need to have a busy hand, but also chasing, catching back every time on every contents. And gotta be honest, to align the damaging skill cycle, you need high level cooldown gem. Otherwise, you are forced to wait some time because of the cooldown. And this experience was quite unpleasant for me. So in short, if you wish to see passive and continuous damaging, you might be a little bit disappointed too. Well, actually there's not many things to concern on the Glaivier requirements, but still if you have a high level of cooldown gem, you might be easy to align your damaging cycle. And one thing I'm sure about it is that Glaivier is quite not that much things to ready for progressions. If you're just planning the Glaivier as an alt and parking on the 1490 to 1580, which, well, in more Korean expressions, Perokugan, want that necessary to have that high level of Crimson Gem too. Core mechanic of the Pinnacle Glaivier is, well, switching stance and the buff. Before the balance patch or rework of the Glaivier, you were supposed to fill up the whole identity to get the full stance buff. But after the rework of the Pinnacle, consume only one identity can grant you full stance buff. That means you can swing your glaive and change stance more freely than before. So in short, fill up the identity, switch stance, and do the DPS. But one thing you need to know is that Shackling Blue Dragon Synergy lasts about 6 seconds. So you need to pour everything on that 6 seconds plus with back attack. That's why I said the cycle of the skill are quite picky to handle. But if you do everything on that 6 seconds with back positioning, you might find out the satisfying DPS experience. Composition of the skill can be summarized like this. Actually, there's not many things to comment on the skill composition. Blue skill, Flurry, is consisted with 2 additional DPS skills and 4 utility skills, 2 synergy. Red skill, Focus stance, is consisted with 4 main DPS skills and 1 counter and 1 real counter skill that can not be seen on any other classes, except for the arrow. Actually, the real counter skill was quite useful on the second gates on Belshazzar inside. Well, it was removed, so it is out of discussion. But still, it is quite useful on many emergency. Skill build can be summarized like this text box. I'll show the skill and tripod in the text box, and I'll explain the gem priority on the priority section. The third tripod of the Half Moon Slash is quite preference. But if you wish to reach the ceiling damage, you need to choose the Chasing Slash tripod. Also, the Conviction Judgment is okay to use it in the raid, but sometimes it might be possible to mess up your skill circulations, so try to use it with your preference. Gem priority can be summarized like this. One thing you need to keep in mind about the gem is that if you wish to align the DPS circulations, Red Dragon Horn, Star for Pounds, Thrust of Destruction need the same level of cooldown gem. Also, for reduce the cooldown of every circulation, high level of cooldown gem is quite efficient to use it in every raid. Maybe I'm pretty speaking obvious. An Annihilation gem is actually sorted by DPS proportions, so I think it doesn't need some explanation for that one. Awakening skill is Spear Meteor. Well, that's it. nothing to comment about this one. Storming Red Dragon has quite long casting time, so I think it doesn't use that very much. Actually, I never saw the guys who are using the Storming Red Dragon. As I mentioned in the first, unlike the stance-based characters aren't that capable on rushing and pouring the huge damage, Pinnacle Glaivier is really capable and perform very good on that part, which looks quite satisfying. And I think personally, Glaivier is still positioning on the high tier right now. But if you just choose it with DPS performance, you might be a little disappointed about the controls and skill circulations. But of course, the choice is yours. You really don't have to filling up the whole identity meters after the rework of the Glaivier. Simply, now it is only cost 1 identity level per switching stance. And costing 1 identity meter will give you the full buff. So try to be more flexible on every contents. Wind Splitter might not be recommended to use on the swiftness, but still, personally, I think it is necessary for every build, as the critical synergy is not 100% on every raid, so you need to cover it with the Wind Splitter on that critical synergy leak. And of course, with that skills, it'll be good for your personal DPS too. Skill combo is really a reference, more like you need to understand the cycle and use it with more flexibility. But one thing you need to remember on the skill circulation is that you need to pour everything on that short 6 seconds of Shackling Blue Dragon buff up time. So try to be patient like any other entropy class. Aim surely and strike surely. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching everyone, and always thanks for your big support. Hope this video was a little help for your LostArk journey. Hope you do well with your Glaivier with this video. And of course, if you liked my videos, hit the sub for more upcoming infos. I'll come back with more useful infos in the next video.